Welcome back to Daily Dose of Hebrew. Last week we looked at the translation and syntax of 1 Samuel 3:5, and this week we want to take a look more specifically at the accents of the verse. In case people missed last week or just for review, let me read back through the Hebrew with us. Let's read this together. Vayarotz el Eli, Vayomer hineni, ki karata li. Vayomer lo karati, shuv, shechav, vayelech, vayishkav. Let's look at a translation now quickly before we move on. We get, and so he ran to Eli, and he said, this is Samuel, behold me, or we would say, here I am, for you called to me. And he said, this is now Eli speaking, I did not call. Return, lie down, both imperatives here. And so he went and he laid down. Now, in order to see the accents a little more clearly, I want to first set off the two major segments of the verse. And first we have the Athnok segment and the Saluk segment. We're going to mark those off here by red and blue, respectively. And we can now see our two major segments of the verse. And in this case, the Athnok segment is significantly longer than the Saluk segment, you'll notice. And this is likely due to the Athnok setting off the direct speech interaction between Eli and Samuel. Notice that the narrative begins the verse, and so he ran to Eli. And then the narrative ends the verse, and so he went and he laid down, both marked off by Vav consecutives. The section in the middle is the direct speech interaction between Eli and Samuel that is set off by the Athnok. So let's set that section off then with yet another color. So now that we have the segments set apart, we can clearly see the narrative segments over against the direct speech. Within the Athnok segment, we have a near subordinate disjunctive accent, the tifka, and we have the far subordinate disjunctive accent, the zakef katon. In the zakef segment, we also have another near subordinate disjunctive accent, the pashta, and then we have a far subordinate disjunctive accent, the revia. So we're kind of making these breaks here. All of these mark off the initial narrative section with the revia. Since the revia is not part of the Athnok segment, it's part of the zakef segment, the Athnok is actually marking off the end of the whole direct speech, indicating and highlighting the important section of the verse. Another way to look at it is that the Athnok marks the end of the direct speech so that the reader knows where the narrative picks back up. Now, certainly the Vav consecutives indicate this as well, but the Athnok makes it explicitly clear. Let's clear away some of this and look at the direct speech divisions. Now let's set up again the Athnok subordinates, the tifka here and the zakef katon here. The tifka must occur one or at most two words in front of the Athnok. Here it's on the second word, and that being the case, it's a little more limited to where it can fall within the Athnok segment. The zakef, however, has more flexibility within its Athnok segment. Here, it falls on the last word of Samuel's direct speech, marking the end of his sentence. In our translation previously, we saw that the next imperfect of Amar has Eli as the subject. And we could probably deduce that without the accents, but if one takes into account the accentual system, you don't even have to question whether Vayomer introduces a new quote, this time from Eli. So in the Athnok segment, we have Samuel's quote, followed by Eli's quote. So let's look at a translation here of the whole thing in the direct speech segment. And then he said, behold me, again, here I am, for you called me. Now, if we stop here, we can put a line after the zakef katon marking off Samuel's quote, and we now begin Eli's quote. And then he said, again, Eli now is the subject, I did not call, return, lie down. When we add the narrative sections back in, I think we get then the whole picture of 1 Samuel 3:5 together. And then he ran to Eli, and he said, here I am. We pick up the ground clause, for you called me. And he, again Eli, said, I did not call, return, lie down. And then next we now pick up after the athnok, the narrative again. And so he, Samuel, went and he laid down. I want to thank you for joining us today. I hope that's helpful. We're going to continue to work through these accents in 1 Samuel chapter 3. Until next time, shalom.